African Heritage Month is an important period for recognizing, honoring, and celebrating the legacy and contributions of people of African descent. Importantly, it is time to acknowledge the generational trauma that the Black community has faced over the centuries as a result of legislative, systemic, and other social and economic barriers. The municipality of the County of Kings, through its Principal Diversity Plan toward Equity and Diversity, a strategy for belonging in the municipality of the County of Kings, recognizes that there are systemic barriers and social injustices that need to be eliminated through policy, municipal service delivery, accessibility, equitable hiring practices, diverse representation on municipal committees, inclusive communication, and beyond. In alignment, the strategy's three lenses of reconciliation and Mi'kmaq treaty rights, African diaspora and anti-Black racism and reparations, and equity, inclusion, and diversity. Moreover, the municipality of the County of Kings, through the strategy of belonging, rejects racism, prejudice in every form, and stands firm in its commitment to fostering truth and decolonization of the municipality, community, processes, and policies. Racism, inequity, discrimination, and social exclusion violate human rights and are blatant threats to the safety and well-being of the municipality's vision of a community of communities where all people belong. Recognizing this, the municipality of the County of Kings is invested in a diversity implementation plan, which is to be redrafted for sustainability at least every 5 years. Accomplishing the municipality's vision will require diversity at the table. It will require allies, advocates, and strong leadership who are committed to changing what is not right and just. This is an integral phase where Diversity Kings County Committee comes into the fold as an ally group, supporting, celebrating, and respecting all communities while fueling social change at the municipal level. I therefore welcome my colleagues, members of Diversity Kings County Committee, to join me at this very special African Heritage Month feature to talk about African Heritage Month and the work that the Diversity Kings County plans to invest in as a committee, to ensure that African Nova Scotians and other communities, including the Indigenous community, youth, persons with disability, women, and members of the S2 LGBTQ+ community, are celebrated and recognized all year round to generate belonging and move County of Kings towards equity and diversity. I thank you all for joining us this evening. I welcome you to this brave space for us to have open and honest conversations. For those who are listening to this recording later, please know that these people come with an open mind and an open heart. For those who you may see sitting in silence, I ask you to remember that part of learning is not just communicating, it is listening and accepting those different opinions which don't align necessarily with our own lived experiences. And through listening and learning through other people's lived experiences, we create opportunity for more equitable and just communities. So thank you all for joining us this evening, and thank you all who are listening to this recording after. We're going to kick it off with some questions. Basically, it's just going to be like a forum, a round table. You are free to unmute yourselves. Please, if somebody else is speaking, wait until they are finished. Be respectful of opinions that are sensitive. Please understand that people are coming here with brave sharing, and this is a space of respect and kindness above all else. So with that, our first question of the evening is: the municipality of the County of Kings unanimously declared February as African Heritage Month in the County of Kings. What does this mean to you as a member of the community of Kings County? So if you would like to answer, you can jump in at any time. Feel free to just unmute your own mic. If you need me to clarify or repeat the question, I can absolutely do that as well.
I'd like to add
I can go. Oh, sorry, June.
Sorry, Devin, you go right
now
ahead.
You're gonna have to rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. Paper. Anyway, I would just like to say, like, I am so over the top impressed with the county because it's a real leader in doing this, because I see the provincial government going that way, but for a municipality to be this far along, and the commitment that you just read was, so detailed, right, and exact. And I think that when I moved to Kings County, I could not see this coming, to tell the truth, be honest. I could never see this coming. I could never see, I could never even see you, June, as a counselor. I couldn't see it in this county, so I couldn't see that coming, and I couldn't see this commitment to belonging coming. And I'm pleasantly and delightedly surprised and hopeful and optimistic with the result of this. And I think that the Kings County should really take a tap on the back, because they're a leader in this throughout the province, and I'd say almost throughout the country, by taking this on. And I think, and I'm so happy with that, because again, it hit me blindside when I moved to Kings County that this would ever come about, because the community sort of in my world very much needed this, right? Very much needed this, but I never thought it would come to fruition. So again, thank you very much to the County of Kings, and thanks everyone for even having this committee. This committee, we forget this committee is a big deal. Having this committee, and this is a committee of action, so this is a big deal. So everybody should know that, right? There are many committees that form for just for talking pieces and stuff like that, to grind their wheels and to a halt. But as you can see by the plan, this committee is committed to action. So and action moving forward. So I just like to start off with that I never saw this coming. I never saw this coming when I moved to Kings County, because I knew the culture of the community, and I knew the response of residents just to me being a black male in the county. So this was a pleasant. I shouldn't say pleasant. That's an understatement. This is a momentous surprise. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing, Devin. That is very much appreciated. And Councillor Granger, if you would like to speak next.
Thank you. Yes, well said, Devin. And I think that the unanimous part of the declaration says a lot, that the county is there, ready to roll with it, and all councillors were on side. And that's really important, to me anyway, that it shows so much strength as a municipality to step in and say, yeah, we all agree this is where we want to go. So kudos to everybody. Kenesha, you're doing a great job. And so is everybody else that's on the committee, with your time, with your effort, with your heart. And yeah, it's I think it's a great thing as well, Devin.
Well, some people know me. I'm Tammy. Born and raised in Kentville. Lived here all my life, and been involved in the Black community organizations for a long time. I started off under BEA with the, I think we were called the Kings County Committee for Education or something. I don't know what we were called. It was so long ago. I'm going to say about 89, 90, where we, the youth in the community, the Black youth in the community, had an umbrella under BEA, the parent group, working with youth, having game days and bringing them in and trying different activities and what have you. it's always interests me to get involved and be involved. Sat on the education committee as my kids were born, had them enrolled into the cultural academic program, working towards a day when they would be more visible or more accepted into the greater community. You know, like I said, I'm born and raised. My mother was raised in the area too. And it's hard to identify when you don't see anybody that represents you. And that has been a struggle for me a lot. I'm involved into with the Gibson Woods Baptist Church. I spend a lot of time there too, trying to make those connections, because in the Annapolis Valley, it's not like the Halifax area where there's large Black communities where people gather and get together. We've gotten away from that in Kings County, which makes your efforts much harder because you have a wider range to try and draw people in and bring people in. That's one of the fundamental things that needs to happen. People, some people are in the community are just not engaged as much as they should be. People that, well, like people like me that work into the community, African Nova Scotia community, we know that we're trying to get engagement, but it's hard because there's stories there and traumas there that people have not dealt with for long periods of time, and they can't see past it. This gives me hope that there is hope past it. I'm glad to be a part of the committee now because I need to hone my skills and my abilities to be able to affect change. It's one thing to be on the ground level talking to the people, but to make long-lasting changes in policies and structures and cultures that have existed for many, many years, I need more skills for that. So that's why I wanted to become part of the committee, because I need to strengthen my skills if I'm going to continue to try and represent my African Nova Scotia counterparts. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Tammy, and welcome. Tammy is one of our newer members, just nominated to our committee in the fall. I'm very much looking forward to your experience, Tammy, that you bring to the table, and giving us some, assistance in making formable action plans. So thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing that this evening. So I'm not seeing anyone. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Huntley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, for the great invitation. I'm excited to be here. When I think about the fact that Kings County is celebrating the month of February, bringing the knowledge to our community, and it shows that we just don't talk about it behind the doors. We do the walk and the talk together. And it's about education, I feel. And, when I hear ads on the radio or anything that's spoken about in the community, I really have a sense of pride and belonging. And I'm so proud of your diversity committee that to say that I was on it, and I still believe in everything, that's being done with this committee. Kudos to Kings County for sure. I love every one of you guys. And I think the message is so important to get out there.
Thank you so much for that, Paula. Paula was formerly on our diversity committee. She is a counselor with the town of Kentville. And thank you for attending tonight, Paula. It is wonderful to see you here. Lots of your thoughts and suggestions went into a lot of this work. So we are happy to have you here this evening with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm not seeing any other hands right away, so I will speak before we move on to the next question. For me, as a member of the community, just briefly, I'll just add my 2 cents that having declared February as African Heritage Month really shows the commitment from the county and from this committee to put action to the commitment that they've made. We've made a very clear declaration, a very extensive policy has been put in place, and we need to have actionable measures to go along with words. And this declaration is one of those ways that we do show that we are putting action to our words. And it shows that we are committed to all people in our community because all people belong within our community. And yeah, so for me, it just shows that it's the action to go with the words. And I think that that's a very integral piece of that. So thank you all for sharing on question 1. Brittany has her hand
I
up.
believe that Brittany had something to add to that.
Yes.
I saw Brittany's hand up.
Brittany's hand is up now. Yep. Sorry, Brittany, go ahead. Thank you very much, Jamie.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of chime in and with a couple of points. I think that it's awesome for our community of communities that the response to this programming has been so strong from the African, Nova Scotian, and Black community, but also from colonial descended folk. It's really good to see. It shows that there's more need to talk about it. And to me, it's kind of, in some ways, February seems like the beginning of a year, but also the end of a year too, because we should be talking about the contributions and lived experiences of the African diaspora all year long. So I think that the response that we're seeing is a really great reminder of the significance of that. The words of Councillor Granger and Tammy and Devin, that you see this as a hopeful and renewing time, but also as a time to not let our foot get off the gas. So I think that those are good reminders and calls to actions in a celebratory way.
Councillor Granger, I'm seeing your hand up as well, so you can go ahead if you would like.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge Brittany because initially we started out with you. And you really taught me a lot of things that I really didn't know either. Not just about, the African Nova Scotian aspect of things, but how things work and why they work that way. So thank you very much for being the one to kind of kick the door open and help me walk through.
Thank you for that, June. Yeah, it goes without saying that this was definitely Brittany's child that she nurtured, and she really, like the spark that she really took and ignited the flame. She has graciously handed it over to Kenesha, who has done a very good job. Big shoes to fill, big role to step up to, but I'm sure that with her experience, and she's already proven to us that she does not have any hesitation stepping into that role. But thank you very much for adding that, June. So our second question this evening is, how important is it for the municipality of the County of Kings to recognize and celebrate African Heritage Month and people of African descent? Yes, Jed, go ahead.
Oh, hi. First of all, I just want to thank Brittany and Kenesha for organizing all this. I think of you two as like the dynamic duo. We're pretty lucky to have both of you and learn here. I just want to say that when we are in chambers and we are talking, we see each other's faces, and you get to know somebody as you're talking before and after the meeting. And I do want to say that it is a safe space, and I do feel like I'm able to express and what I want to say. It maybe doesn't always come out the exact way that I want, but you try, and that's the main thing. I guess to answer the question, when I was listening to Devin, June, and Tammy, I guess Tammy's response kind of really stuck with me, and she said, it's really hard when you don't see somebody that represents you. And so that sort of really stuck to me. It's like, okay, this is why this is important for us to do, for not just you. And I'm not going to ask, when you said you were talking about something that was back in 1980 something, I'm not going to say how many years this has been. I'm not going to put you on the spot for that, Tammy. But it just sort of stuck with me at how it is important, and it probably leads into the next question that we're going to have too. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jen, and also highlighting the words of somebody on our committee who is speaking from lived experience, because that lived experience means so much to the voices that we bring to the table. So thank you very much for that. Paula, I saw that you had your hand up next, if you would like to go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you asked how important is it to celebrate? Well, celebrating great things should happen every day. And, my hope would be for this is that one day we don't have to structure it to 1 month. It could always be a natural conversation, and the support will always be there, because celebrating shows what happened in the past, where we are right now, and what can we do for the future. That's why these celebrations are so important, and it allows a louder voice and many people to contribute to what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Paula. And Councillor Granger, your hand was up next, I believe.
Yes, education is always a great thing. And even if you can give one person one thing to think about, I think you've done your job. And that, that we have kind of, such a diversity committee helps as well. So yeah, I think it's a very important part. And of course, as Paula said, to celebrate anything is a great thing. And we're very fortunate that we get to do this. So thank you
for that, June. Jamie, I see your hand is up next if you would like to speak next. Oh. Jamie, you're still on mute there.
Had to be me to make that classic mistake.
It's okay. I muted myself to tell you that you were still on mute. So
thank you. No, I just wanted to say how honored I am to share this space with you, and also to live here in Kings County. I can't even begin to explain all the different ways that it touches my heart, and I think for me, being part of this, it's a way for seeing and hearing other people and other people's stories, and sometimes sharing the pain of intergenerational trauma, and just kind of connecting with people, and I do think that celebration is extremely important, but also for me personally, it's a way to connect with people on a different level, and to share the pain, but also to share the healing.
Thank you, Jamie. I really like the point that you make there about sharing the healing. I'm not seeing any more hands, so I will just speak briefly myself to that point. The people within the African descent and the Black community really play an integral part in Nova Scotia to the development of this province in many ways, and they've showed a resiliency and overcome more than most of us can imagine. And celebrating that is especially prominent for us because we need to do that every day. It's, something that we need to celebrate every day is culture and diversity and the things that make us different, that bring us together, because we are all different in our own ways. And we need to break down those barriers to recognize the fact that those are the things that we should be celebrating alongside one another. Much to what you said, Jamie, I was just sitting here writing down notes quickly while everyone was talking, and that was one of the things that I said was, celebrating gives us an opportunity to break down those barriers of generational trauma and really hone in on the positive pieces of the heritage that we have often overlooked, and raise people higher based on those positive contributions that their culture and their community has brought to this province, and especially Kings County as a whole. So thank you for that. Question number 3 this evening is Nova Scotia is celebrating 2022 African Heritage Month under the theme Through Our Eyes, the Voices of African Nova Scotians. In your view, how important is it in this theme to the nurturing of belonging in the municipality of the County of Kings? That's an intense one, so I'll give everyone a moment to digest that. So I will just repeat it again. Nova Scotia is celebrating African Heritage Month under the theme this year in 2022, Through Our Eyes, the Voices of African Nova Scotians. In your view, how important is this theme to nurturing and that sense of belonging within the County of Kings? So I'm seeing some hands pop up now. Brittany, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think there seems to be some hypocrisy in this because I didn't expect to be the first person. But I think my personal reason for it being important is the prioritization of the African Nova Scotian experience. You know, in our, at least in our public education systems, there's an optional course to learn about the realities of a significant portion of our population who's been contributing to this province in excess of 4 centuries. And it's optional, right? So we often, colonial descended people, dominant cultures, do what they do best. They colonize and dominate the conversations. And so I think the theme's significance for me is a reminder to hold that space, to take a back seat, and to prioritize historically excluded voices in conversation. And I do realize the irony of me saying that first as a non-African Nova Scotian. And hopefully our colleagues here will be understanding of that.
Brittany, I can come in now. Yeah. Through our eyes, that some of the themes really have had some impact, but this one really did impact because as Black Nova Scotian, we've been telling our version of our life and our reality, and it's been othered or marginalized, and in some cases it's still going on. If we have a perception or tell a story, someone tries to minimize it or other it because in the dominant culture they don't experience that. And there's some examples in our society where people are with you, allies, and they reiterate that, see, things don't happen, you know, that's because they're with them. But when we as people of color are alone, the reaction of a lot of people and colonial people is quite different. And we curtail and model our activities to adjust to that, and to know what's going on, and where we're comfortable and where we're not comfortable, and where we're welcomed and where we're not welcomed. And those are realities that still go on today. And I should lend some microaggressions to that, just some examples locally, like parking lots. If I'm in a parking lot, if I get out of my car, the people get out of their car, look at me wide-eyed, and go back and triple click their lock on their car, because that's their thinking, right? That's my reality, but people won't see that. If you're with me, if I have an ally with me, you won't see that behavior. So they don't see that, so they can't say, well, that doesn't happen. It won't happen with them, but it happens with me by myself. I've had people who I've met and had in my house and talked to, and they see me outside without my mask, without my wife, and they don't recognize me because they just saw me as something else before, right? These are things that go on. I don't want to be all negative, but I will give you a big one, just a scenario that it was one Christmas Eve, and I was in a store I won't name, but the store was overflowing with people. You couldn't even find a parking spot, and you couldn't get in. So I finally got into the store, and there was a gentleman helping a lady with paint, and you couldn't barely move down the aisles. And he left his customer in mid-sentence, chased me down 2 aisles, and asked me, could he help me? When there were close to probably 190 people in the store, like just. So this is the reality. Now, if an ally was with me or somebody, that wouldn't happen. That's those behaviors. And so for the future, we need to, this to be positive, go on the positive. This committee has given us some tools, some education and some insight on how to handle those things, because those things, although they are microaggressions, they're actually acts of violence, and because that's what racism is, and that's what that is. So those are just I just touched on a couple stories, but if I put down a column in a day, like even like today, you know what I mean? If you're a person of color, this impacts your world. This is what goes on every single day. And I'm in a couple of different groups with the province, and all people of color mention it every day. So it's not like this isn't the stories that I told you are like one-off instances. No, this is what happens daily. If I'm in a store and I am purchasing an item, I watch the person will hold the item like this and not hand it to me until they've rung everything through. When everything through, then they'll give it to me. This is the behavior. This is what they've been taught. So they're suspicious of your color, basically your color. So suspicious. So you're treated in a place, especially in the commercial world, as a little bit suspicious. And I don't want to, but I just wanted to give you that because if you're not of color, you don't experience that on a daily basis. But this is what you deal with on a daily basis, right? And then and then you have and what comes through we talk about the social determinants of health, but those things impact Black communities because we all talk about which ones we're going to fight. I see Tammy nodding her head. Which ones we're going to fight and talk to and speak to, and which ones we're going to we don't have time, we don't have the energy, the strength, or the commitment to address that one. We say, should I or not? So you go through that a lot of times on a daily basis. Should I or shouldn't I go for this, right? And other people don't experience that, and those things have impact on health in the long run, and mental, and especially mental health as well, because we don't talk about that. But I just wanted to put that out there because within our forum of our committee, we usually don't get that deep, but I just wanted to put that out there. So that's an experience of people of color, and I know, and it's just something that we deal with. We deal with all the time. We all hear stories of driving while Black, walking while Black, watching deer while Black. Those things are occurring in different venues daily for us, right? Because how people drink, how people react to you. And the hopeful part of why I'm here is I see ads on the radio, education. I see, and that's the stuff. And we're educating the youth, which is very important. So we hope that our generations below us, maybe, to be realistic, it's a little less, and then it's gone. Hope, but that's the hope. But I just wanted to give you some insight, on a little bit of the world that Black and brown people travel in, right, daily. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin, for your honest conversations there. Very real for those of us who do not live that experience and do not have that lived experience. Very thought-provoking, for sure, and really highlights the importance of listening to those stories through other people, through the eyes of those who live those stories. So next, I'm just going to go through. I have quite a few hands up for this one. So I just want to give everyone the order that we are going to go in. So once that person is done, you can jump right in and you can add your conversation to this question. So first I have June, then I have Tammy, I have Paula next, and then Jen, and then Andrew will wrap us up for this question unless anyone else has anything else to add. So with that, June, I will give the floor to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to add that what Devin was talking about is very fear-based. And when you're able to look through someone's eyes, like this theme, it shows you the fear, what to fear and what not to fear. And, I find with this, Through Our Eyes, The Voices of African Nova Scotian was a really well-selected theme. For the very reason of fear. It's fear on both sides too. It's, you know, you fear what they may be thinking or wanting to do or what they're doing, but they fear you and they don't even know why. So thank you for sharing that, Devin. Thank you.
Thank you, June, for that. Tammy, we will move on to you next if you are ready to speak.
I am. So I made a few notes. I'll try not to talk too much. Through our eyes, when I first seen the poster at the launch and the reveal at the Province House, I was kind of taken back, but the imagery in the poster was mesmerizing. It almost made me feel like I could actually literally look through somebody else's eyes. And then I thought, what a great feeling that would be if I could look through somebody else's eyes. My history has always been important to me. My struggle has always been not being able to see it and not being able to find it. I've had to search for everybody I know, and I still don't know near enough, but I know more than most. Well, I'm just using my family as a benchmark because my mom's family is born and raised here. They're Pleasants, and there's 14 of them. So there's a big family. Over 42 first cousins at last count. It's still growing every day. And most of us are in the local area. Well, some of us have moved away, but even through that, and when I see how we were all brought up, of course, it was different back then, the closeness in the family. They fought and bickered and all that kind of stuff too, but the closeness, the family connection, I didn't have to worry about friends or socializing outside of my circle because I had 3 cousins that we were all born the same year. We were automatic best friends. Like, and that was good. You didn't feel so alone. Fast forward to 1998, and I get a government job, and I walk into the building under an internship program. Awesome program, got me my job, proved myself. I'm still there after all this time. But the makeup of the building, as far as people and diversity, has not really changed. And I work for the federal government, who prides herself in their diversity and equality. Not that they haven't made strides, but it saddens me. I took the approach. I'm just going to share one story because I know we got many more questions and other people have their hands up. But
take your time. The floor is yours.
This kind of always bothers me, and I had to start looking at it a different way. I am highly visible. There's no mistaking it. I can't pass. I'm not trying to pass. However, I have a blended family, so a lot of my cousins can pass and do pass. So they don't even get the same looks and attitude that I may get. But this is really not about that. My whole thing is around African Heritage Month. I don't want to be just celebrated one month, but I'm happy to be included in it. And over the last couple of years on a broader scale, and also bringing that importance into my family. Now, if anybody has heard the ads, you'll hear that I was on one of them, and I think I had the worst. I think I had Ben Jackson, and some of the words I struggled with pronouncing, but I made it through somehow. And then the following year, my daughter was added. I can't remember who Sierra did, but she did one of the voiceovers for the radio station. Knowing that those are still going, and I have people say, "Hey, I heard you on the radio today." It makes me feel like a part of the new history coming forward. So I just want to say that was a great opportunity, and I was so glad that Brittany asked me to be a part of that, and that I convinced Sierra to do it the next year, because that's something that you can tell people, like, because that's what I'm searching for now. What important things have my family done to contribute to Kings County, to contribute to Nova Scotia? And they're not telling those stories. or they haven't done anything. And there's nothing wrong with them not doing anything, but I want to highlight what they have done. Because what my parents done is they raised independent children that think for themselves and get involved in whatever they're passionate about and follow it through. And that may not be, ending a war or anything like that, but it's helped shape who I am. And when I think about the commitment that I have made to the African Nova Scotian community, and not for any other reason than I want to educate myself, and I feel like other people, if they educate themselves, it will build their self-esteem and build their confidence in feeling like they belong. Now, all that to say, Black History Month rolls around every year. And in my workplace, I think there's 100+ employees. I don't know how many, but there's 100+ employees. And every year they look to me to come and do a presentation. It's not that I don't want to, but I've spent so much of my life trying to learn about me. It would be nice to see that somebody else made an effort to learn something to give back to me. However, I do continue to do it because I feel like if I don't do something, then I'm not part of the solution. I'm not part of the solution. This year I didn't. Well, I did still do something. I always acknowledge African Heritage Month anyway. And this year I did an email with a link to the provincial Nova Scotia province unveiling of the poster with the link for the County of Kings, listing off some of the events, especially the launch that we did. I think it was the 7th, I think. And then an in-house session that we were having for Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada on the 16th. I was really sick earlier in January, so that's as much as I could commit to, but that's what I do to give back, and that's why I think the theme is important. But sometimes people don't understand it. It's a real struggle for you to find out your own history, that sometimes you just don't want to share it. You want to be able to see it yourself, and not have to dig for it, right? Anyways, that's what I have to share for now.
Thank you so much, Tammy, for that. And I love how you added that you don't want to dig for it. You really want somebody else to take the time to share and celebrate you instead of using you as the token person who represents that. So let you celebrate, show us how you celebrate instead of, hey, let us celebrate you for all that you've contributed and all that you've given back. So thank you very much for that, Tammy. Paula, I'm going to go to you next. The floor is yours whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the question of how important is the theme, that was what clicked with me. And I think the theme is where the message starts. You know, that's the piece that draws the attention to what we're trying to talk about. And, you know, the word nurture, I always think of the word nurture as caring, belonging, safe, loved. Those are words that I grew up hearing from my mom. And I've always carried those words with me. And you make them your own, and they mean to you whatever it is as you grow older. But I always felt that the nurture piece was, we need to look out for each other. There's no I, it's all about us together, because if we don't look after each other, who's going to look after us? So I love the message and where it starts. So kudos to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Paula. And Jen, I'm going to give the floor to you now whenever you are ready.
Thank you. I too, like Brittany, don't want to dominate any conversation, so I am really happy to listen. And so I don't know if this is directly answering the question through our eyes, but I'm hoping it is. When I listened to Devin, who went first, and I always admire Devin's passion and honesty. That's one thing you're always going to get from Devin. So starting that off, I felt when he said every day he fears, like when you walk into a room, it's the first thing that people will see. You are a Black Nova Scotian. And I can't imagine every day feeling fearful. Like that is unacceptable today and any day, to have that fear and that feeling of discrimination and prejudice. Again, like I said, I can't imagine. So I'm trying to see it through your eyes, and definitely you communicated it to me anyway at that time. And then I do want to respond to Tammy. And Tammy, we haven't known each other very long. You've just started on the committee. This is my second year. I always say I hope I'm on the committee for the whole 4 years that I'm on council in Wolfville. But when you said I don't want to talk too much, my first response was, "Way, you talk as much as you want," because that's what I want to listen to. And so I guess I'm just jotting down notes, and I will try not to talk too much. This is the the politician in me, I'm sorry, but I do want to say how lucky you are to have 42 cousins. I think you said 42 cousins that live in this area, and how much family you have. I just want to say how lucky that you are to have that.
That's on one side. Sorry to interrupt. There's about that many on the other side too.
Well, I just think that you're so lucky because family is everything, right? So anyway, I just feel like through this discussion, and back to the chair, Lexi, that we're probably answering a lot of the questions that Kanisha had outlined by just the discussion. So thank you for that. And I will be quiet and hand it over to Andrew. I think Andrew's next. So there you go, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Jen. And yes, Andrew, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. I want to hitch on to what Devin said. I think I want to thank him for that too, because people don't think of that. They don't realize. I know myself, and I can't speak for going into a store, but I mean, I know even just myself when I travel, because my birth name is Ahmed. So when you go to the airport, I'm always like, I feel like I don't want to say molested, but I got to go through the full thing through those scanning machines. And I mean, you do get judged, and it's not something I live with it day to day, but I mean, it's nice to hear those real things. Those are the most impactful things. So when I hear Tammy or Devin talk right now, I think it's imperative that message really gets out. And so that's kind of what I wanted to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your experience and also highlighting, the similarities in those underprivileged communities or underserved voices that, there is a lot of overlap there. And that's why it's important for us to come together, using that lived experience to really heighten and elevate the conversation a bit more. And yes, Jen, you're right. By the conversation, this is very much how we wanted it to go. It has flowed wonderfully to kind of touch on all of those questions. Great conversations. I'm sure anyone watching this recording can understand why we come together as a committee. A lot of like-minded and very passionate people, community-focused people here. And it's a pleasure to serve alongside everyone, and also just to have the opportunity to hear other people's experiences and understand different points of view, and really have that compassion and empathy for the lived experiences that are very different than mine as a colonial person. I would just want to highlight here, just trying to go over my notes, that through our eyes, really for me, it's an opportunity to give a platform for those voices that have been hushed, that have been, shoved aside. To understand somebody is not necessarily to relate to them. It's an opportunity to sit and be quiet. This theme highlights that giving of space from colonial people, giving the space to have people of African descent use their voices, and for people of colonial descent to stop trying to understand and relate to something that is not relatable from our experience at all. So to actually hear those voices, hear that lived experience. And, Devin, you said it may be small things, but, acts of violence are small things is what you said. It is very much active violence. And I just wanted to was writing notes. Acts of violence are very much like slivers that get ignored and they fester. They may seem small, but repetitively over time, the wound is still there. The hurt continues to hurt, and it gets worse and worse. So even small acts, even small waves move big oceans, right? So even small acts of violence have big effect on those who don't have an ally with them in their back pocket every time that they need somebody. And you shouldn't need somebody. You shouldn't need to have an ally in your back pocket in order to be accepted and welcomed and belong as you do. So thank you all for sharing those. It was very eye-opening for me again, and I appreciate your willingness to be brave in this space and share those. I will move on to, yes, Brittany just commented microaggressions, and I just lost the message. Microaggressions have macro impacts. So yes, that is huge. Thank you, Brittany, for sharing that. So I'm going to move on to just trying to look at my questions here. The municipality of the County of Kings established the Diversity County Committee to assist in educating the public about how and where racism exists in the municipality. I think that during that last question, we've touched on that very much so. You know, we did this to identify best practices to contribute to the elimination of racism and discrimination in the municipality and recommend policies to the municipal council to influence policies and programs that align with equity, diversity, inclusion, social justice, and belonging. As a member of Diversity Kings County Committee, what are some of the things that you do to ensure the inclusion of all communities, including the African Nova Scotian community? So this is one thing that for me came up. Kanisha and I kind of discussed this. I am taking a course on colonial and settlers, like kind of identifying our heritage. And one of the questions that was asked by one of my co-students in that program was how do we still sit complacent to the thing that we say we are not complacent to? So that is very much where this question came from. So how, as a diversity committee, how do you ensure that you're not being complacent, whether it's intentionally or non-intentionally, within our communities? How, and primarily, you know, those underserviced, marginalized groups, how do we, as committee members, not remain complacent, whether intentional or non-intentional, within our community? Yes, June, go ahead.
Well, that's a big one.
Yeah.
But for myself personally, I get asked quite often who my father is and if I'm from Gibson Woods. And both of those are completely wrong. I am not African Nova Scotian. My father is from Trinidad and my mother is from Scotland. And so I get a minute to, when someone does ask me, I get to mini educate somebody because they think by looking at me that I must be from this area. And by not snapping at them, and I usually go the comedic route as well. I use comedy very much to disarm people. And so I give them an opportunity to ask their question, and then that gives me an opportunity to educate them right then and there. And the Diversity Committee is kind of giving us all a voice to be able to do that. Minute by minute, you get to educate people. And some people will ask the question, and I can feel that it is an innocent question most of the time. Sometimes I can feel there's maliciousness behind it, but most of the time they're actually curious. They just want to know, is Michelle your cousin? Nope, don't even know Michelle, but she looks like you. Yeah, I know. It's funny, but so I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, June. And Tammy, you are next up on our list if you would like to take the floor.
Yeah, when you read the question, it seemed like it is a big question. The key thing that I do is I try and educate those around me. And the hardest people to educate around me are the family. They have been hushed and traumatized so badly that they need to have healing, but they don't know they need to have healing. So how do you convey to people in a world where mental health is really important, but in African Nova Scotian communities, they really don't talk about mental health because they already have so many other things they got to contend with in life. But there needs to be healing. Every family dynamic, doesn't matter what race you are, all people are so different. Like I have 3 siblings and we're so far from each other, it's not even funny. However, I have 2 younger sisters that don't have a passion or don't feel the need to have this connection to history and a sense of belonging. They're happy where they are to kind of blend right in and nobody kind of single them out. Whereas I feel like I deserve to be front and center and I don't know why I'm not. And that's where I'm trying to progress myself because I feel like I deserve to be there. Why not? But I'd like to, there needs to be some healing in the African Nova Scotian community because a lot of people don't feel like they even deserve to be there because the microaggressions have just sent them down a rabbit hole. That's it.
Thank you so much. That was very impactful, Tammy. Thank you for highlighting the importance of healing along with education in this process. And Jen, I believe you are next on my list if you would like to take the floor.
No, thanks. I put my hand up initially because the question was pretty tough. And first, nobody was putting it up and I was like, I hate silence, so I'm going to step in. But I really shouldn't because I learned way more from somebody going ahead of me. So I guess I keep responding to everything everybody said, but I guess it's because I'm curious too. So June, when you said people come up and they ask you sort of where you're from and do you feel like they want to, like they need to know that you're Black or they need to put you into a group and then you said you can tell if they're being sincere or not. So do you think it's because they're curious or they want to sort of know that you're Black? That's just a question, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, some people, I mean, you can tell by somebody's energy. Some people are just curious and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm happy that they would ask me instead of assume something.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't actually know. I mean, I didn't ask you and I didn't know, but I have my own sort of story with that. My husband's father is a Black Bermudian. I say was, he's passed away and he moved to Canada for his education and he's a person of color. Obviously he's Black. And he would always get asked questions of, and I think when I was with him, I was always curious to know, do you want to know if he's Black? Because when they asked where he was from, he was always so proud to say, I'm Bermudian. And he was always so proud because he didn't grow up in Nova Scotia or Canada. So he would have maybe experienced things differently. But I was always interested in his response because I felt like, do they want to put you in a category? That's what I always felt. But he was always so proud to just say where he was from. That's my own story on that. And then I just wanted to respond to Tammy and say, do you think it's okay that people in your family, I think it's okay. Everybody, it seems like people are on different stages of where they are with their trauma. Like some people may have healed more than others. Some people may have a different journey, and that's okay, I guess. But do you relate to some people more than others based upon your own experiences? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah. For me, because I have such a large family, I use it as a gauge for the greater population of African Nova Scotians. And because I have a lot, because my family history and my families are very big on both sides and half siblings and all that kind of jazz. But I just see the generational history repeating itself because people, and they seem fine where they're at, but I don't know how we get to a place of a better moving forward if these people don't even recognize. It's like Harriet Tubman said, you know, she could have freed so many more slaves if they knew they were slaves to begin with, right? Like they don't even know that there's anything wrong with their behavior because that's all they've ever known. They never had anybody have expectations of them. so they didn't have any expectations. And that's okay. That's okay. But for society as a whole, how are we going to lift those people up? Because they would have the best insight to give to move forward. But how are you going to lift them up and bring them out when they don't even know where they're at? And you know, the thing I do is I'm very firm in my beliefs, but you know, I mean, and I am very vocal around my family. So, you know, it's nothing for me to tell them, oh no, I'm doing, but you know, my mother's like, you're volunteering at something again? Like, do you ever stop? And if you want to know stuff, you have to get involved. And I want to know stuff, so I need to get involved. And then I have friends that say, how do you know everything that's going on in the town? Because I'm looking. I want to see what's out there. And I was a single mother with 2 children on my own. I was looking for the free stuff. And if there was free stuff that I could take my kids to, I was taking them to it. It's a little nerve-wracking when you do that, when you walk in the room and there's nobody the same color as you. And you feel like you're already being judged, and then you're there by yourself with 2 children. Because being single in this day and age is something that people also look down on, right? Even though it's becoming more common than not. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, and thank you for your response, Tammy. That was great. Brittany, your hand is up next if you would like to take the floor.
Sure. I can't remember exactly how you phrased the question because I got so engrossed in the comments before mine, but my answer that I had formulated was I have a 2-prong approach to this work, and the first, and I think probably I won't categorize their importance, but the first one that I'll speak to is a commitment and fidelity to truth. And to be insistent on the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth is really important, because I genuinely believe that the majority of our population is genuinely good. But I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there. So when you confront misinformation with truth, you can help change the conversation. And then the other aspect of that is greeting people where they're at with a tremendous amount of love, because as we've heard tonight, there's a tremendous amount of hurt, trauma. There are victims of consistent aggression and violence, and all of that requires love and truth. So you got to love on everybody, and you got to be truthful. And I think if we increased the capacity for both those things in this world, we'd make pretty good headway pretty fast. That's all I got.
Thank you, Brittany. I really enjoyed that. I love the meet people where they're at. That is one of my biggest things. You've got to meet people where they're at. You've got to understand that that's where they are in their journey and move forward from a place of kindness above all else. For me, in terms of this,
sorry, Madam Chair, if I could just add one more thing. It would also
absolutely.
Just be persistence, and Tammy will laugh knowing what I'm talking about, because when you see someone who you know needs to get involved with what you're involved with, you got to be persistent. And sometimes it takes years of asking them every year to do something.
But here she is.
Here she is. And I mean, I've learned so much from her tonight. I've learned so much from Tammy over the years. So persistence is key too.
I like that. I have a motto: persistency over consistency. So I mean, right there, the persistency does pay off. I think for me, the big thing is the education piece, like so many people here have spoken on. You know, knowing and just always putting yourself in a place where you can identify your bias. I can identify my biases and break down those barriers and be really honest with myself, and get really uncomfortable and not be afraid to make other people maybe slightly uncomfortable. I had spoken to Brittany about there was a project that I wanted to work on, and it was with another person who is Caucasian like me, and you know, I have persistently trying to get this person, you know, let's get the Black community involved in this, like let's like partner. And it was always about kind of with the dead weight of, well, I tried, but they don't want to go, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to work with me. They don't want to, and I said to Brittany, I was like, just because they're Black doesn't mean they want to do the work for you. They're Black, but it doesn't mean they need to be Black for you, or Indigenous for you, or disabled for you. People don't want you to come to them to do the work. They want you to come and collaborate with them and take the lead. Maybe you don't understand. For me, you know, maybe I don't understand everything, but I'm not going to go to, say, Devin and be like, well, you're Black, so you know more about it, so you just do this. I'm going to go to somebody and say, teach me. Well, let's work together. Let's collaborate. How can I appropriately move forward and educate other people? Putting myself in places to be uncomfortable and own what if I'm saying things wrong or if I'm getting things wrong. Honesty. And especially the next generation. I have 3 children who I'm very honest with, and I have had my mother and many other people say to me, do you think that's appropriate for an 8-year-old? And I'm like, well, if it wasn't appropriate for an 8-year-old to go to a residential school, then it's appropriate for my 8-year-old to learn about a residential school. And if it was appropriate for an 8-year-old to be a slave, it's appropriate for my daughter to learn about the slaves. If it was appropriate for an 8-year-old to travel with the Black Loyalists to Nova Scotia and be neglected when they got there, then it's appropriate for my 8-year-old to know about that. And so that is something that I'm immensely huge on, is education. And not being afraid to have those uncomfortable conversations and call people out when I don't agree with their narrative. So that was a pretty intense one. We do have other questions here, and I think that we've kind of touched on them a bit. We are kind of running over time, and I know other people have other commitments. I'm just going to go over the questions for the purpose of the recording, so people know that we're not skipping over anything that we haven't actually discussed. But there are a few here. Just about how people can engage with us. So those are pretty quick and easy questions. So I will get people just to hop in and tell us how we can answer those questions. So those who are listening can get involved and stay in tune with our committee. So one of the questions that we didn't get to tonight, on December 7th, 2021, the municipality of the County of Kings unanimously approved the municipality's key diversity strategy towards equity and diversity, a strategy for belonging in the municipality of the County of Kings. How important is the strategy to the elimination of anti-Black racism, discrimination, and systemic barriers in the Kings region? So if anyone, I'm just going to read these questions off. If there's anything that you want to add while I'm saying this or going through the questions, we can keep the conversation going. I just don't want people to feel like I'm holding them here. If you do have other commitments, I know we are all very busy and time is of the essence. Then number 6 is the municipality of the County of Kings has a comprehensive, diverse, and inclusive 2022 African Heritage Month calendar of events. Share the details of some of those events. I guess I'm supposed to share some of the details of those events and how the public can participate. So if anyone on our committee wants to talk about how you can participate in some of those events, where you can find them and how to interact, feel free to jump in. And then, oh, I see Kenesha has her hand up.
And Tammy, I see Tammy's hand, so she could go first and then I'll go after Tammy.
Okay, perfect. Tammy, if you would like to go first.
I was just briefly going to say that I shared the municipality's website on my Facebook page and encouraged all my friends to go and take a look at what was going on for the month. And of course, I've already told you that I shared it with my coworkers.
Thank you so much for that support. Kenesha, you could go ahead there now if you want. Kenesha, you're still muted. I'm not sure if you're speaking or not, but.
Thank you so much. I want to share some
there you are.
About the calendar, the African Heritage Month calendar, and how folks can get involved in and learn more about this fantastic, comprehensive, diverse, and inclusive month-long list of activities. And what is important to mention is that all of these activities are designed to have year-long effect. It's about that 365 days per year commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion, justice, and belonging. So everything that we do is about demonstrating respect for all communities all year long. So we're in the middle of the month. So on the 23rd, the public is invited to participate in the African Diaspora Anti-Black Racism and Reparations Lens discussion forum. That will be from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And folks can go over to the website www.countyofkings.ca/diversity to register for that event. Folks can also visit the municipality's Facebook page and engage with the digital series that we have there, and those series have been fantastically produced. I just want to thank some folks. I hope I'm not taking up too much time, but we have to give credit to the folks who help us to make this African Heritage Month so fantastic. I want to thank Dr. Geraldine Browning, Craig Gibson, Richard Gardner, Patricia McCullough of BEA, Jennifer Tufts of the Valley Wren, Kay McNeil, Eason's Transport, Kelsey Jones, Dalhousie University, Robert French, Vansda, Mayor Mutart, everyone of Diversity Kings County Committee, Deputy Mayor Lutz. It's so many folks. Crescenda McBean, Lawrence Parker, Andre Roberts of AVRCE, AVRCE, and the students of Afrocentric Co-Art. It has been a fantastic production. And I also want to mention Dr. Jean Augustine, the first Black Canadian parliamentarian who visited us virtually on the 7th and acknowledged the work that the county has been doing to move the region toward equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I also want to thank Rewind Radio for spinning those lovely educational pieces for us, and Saltwire as well for covering the events and just bringing the information to the public. It's so very important, and we're looking forward to engaging community 365 days. So
Kenesha, I do have to jump in here and interrupt you.
Brittany, thanks to everyone, and thank you all of you here for making this fantastic.
Kenesha, I do need to jump in and interrupt you because there was one key person that you forgot about, and that was yourself. So please don't forget to give yourself a huge round of applause, because you have poured, I mean, you're fairly new to this role and you have made a phenomenal event. You have covered so much and educated so many. It really truly is an amazing event, and amazing events happening within there. So I see that Andrew is saying that he needs to leave. So I would just like to say thank you, Andrew, for being here tonight and participating. I think he's already hopped off. So one of the other questions that we have here is just how can the dialogue about African Nova Scotian heritage, inclusion, belonging, and diversity be continued? I think that we've covered that very much here this evening. We've had some very informative conversations, and I just thank everyone for coming and showing up in that brave space, taking the opportunity to listen, but also to share and understand the healing that needs to take place and how we can kind of help one another through those processes. And then our last question of the evening, I'm just going to say this question, and then I'm going to give everyone a chance to say whatever they would like to say before we hop off. So how can the public keep up with diversity Kings County is doing? Kenesha is phenomenal. We have a phenomenal communications coordinator in the County of Kings as well. On our Facebook page, on our website, like Kenesha said earlier, our diversity committee meets the first Monday of every month. We always welcome the public to come in and view and see what we're up to. We have lots of wonderful conversations coming up. So Tune in. We keep this conversation going, and we have some phenomenal people here in this group, as I'm sure that you can see. Lots of lived experience and lots of learning that is able to take place here. I'm going to give the floor to Kenesha, and I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to let Kenesha close us off because I did steal her thunder there a little bit, and then we'll just quickly. I see Jen's hand is up, and then we'll just kind of go around the Brady Bunch squares here. Everyone can have an opportunity to say a little so long before we do close up here this evening. So Kenesha, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I want to let folks know that we have a number of banners, educational banners, mounted inside the municipal building, thanks to the Black Cultural Center. So folks can come on in safely, of course. So probably they could call and schedule a visit to come in and learn about the history of African Nova Scotians. So they can do that. They can also visit our YouTube page, Facebook page as well to get information. And I would also like to take this opportunity to invite folks to our virtual International Women's Day function that we are working on. The link will soon be available. So as soon as that is available, it will be shared on social media and folks can register to attend that. That will also be a comprehensive and inclusive event that is designed to ensure the inclusion of women and the empowerment of women and girls. And we really want to ensure that all communities are supported. So we want everyone to assist in sharing the message and getting everyone involved in the conversation, because when everyone is involved, that is really when we know that we are truly moving toward equity, diversity, and inclusion, and realizing the municipality's vision of a community of communities where all people belong. Thank you all so much.
Jen, you can go ahead and take the floor.
Hi. Thanks, Kenesha, for all the hard work you do and for getting us all together tonight and having this so important conversation. I just wanted to say, as a fellow councillor, to thank the chair, to thank Lexi, the chair, and June, the vice chair, for all your thoughtfulness and guidance through this and all the other meetings that we have. And hopefully, I'm assuming the next meeting will be in Chambers, so that'll be nice to see everybody. So just thank you.
Thank you. That is so kind of you, Jen. Hopefully in person again. Hopefully we can be sharing snacks again soon. Tammy, if you would like to say anything, if you don't feel like I'm putting you on the spot, I'm just giving everyone an opportunity to share their closing thoughts. Tammy's good. June, if you have anything that you would like to add to the conversation before we close out tonight, feel free to jump on now.
Thank you. All I really wanted to say was thank you to you for chairing this tonight, and Kenesha as well, and of course Brittany, and all of us for being so willing to share and be here together. It means a lot.
Yes, thank you. And Jamie, you're the next up in my Brady Bunch squares, so I'm going to put you on the spot. If you don't have anything to add, don't feel you have to, but if you would like to, now is your chance.
Yeah. Just wanted to say an expression an old friend of mine taught me years ago: sharing is caring. And so I just wanted to say thanks to everyone for sharing and caring.
Thank you for that. See, no, I told you not to unmute earlier. Now I'm muting to talk to you. So thank you for that. Thank you for adding that. I like that. Brittany, that leaves you up next on my Brady Bunch squares.
I have nothing but gratitude, so thank you, everyone.
And I saved the best for last, so Devin Adams, that would be you to have any closing thoughts before we head out this evening.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I just like to say basically thanks to everyone and thanks to everyone at Kings County. The county, I'm just so impressed with everybody. Don't want to, go through everyone because in case I miss somebody, but thank you very much.
I I also would like to echo those sentiments of thanks and appreciation for those who do share so candidly and so honestly. As a colonial person, I do have a lot of learning to do, and I cannot do it without people who are willing to step up and take those brave spaces. So thank you very much, and I hope that you all tune into the rest of our African Heritage Month events that we have planned. Kenesha has a full calendar on, and as you can see, she is very good at these types of celebrations, so I look forward to see what she's coming up with International Women's Day in a few more weeks. So you'll want to stay tuned to the municipality, our Facebook page, and our website to see what is happening there next. So thank you everyone for the evening. I apologize we went over, but I feel that it was necessary for the conversations that we were having to add on a few extra minutes. So thank you everyone so much for this evening, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.
Night.
Good night, everybody. Happy African Heritage Month.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.